Yeah. So good morning, one and all. I congratulate you all on this Republic Day, 73rd Republic Day of India, and welcome you all to this session of online classes of MA English third semester, being organized jointly by Vasantrao Naik Government Institute of Arts and Social Sciences, Nagpur, Rajkumar Keval Ramani Kanya Mahavidyalaya Jaripatka, Nagpur, and JM Patel College of Arts, Commerce and Science, Bhandara. Today, in this session, we will be dealing with the American essays of the 19th century, Emerson and Thoreau, and the resource person for the session is Dr. Manjushree Sardeshpande. Ma'am at present is holding the post of head of the department at R.S. Mundle Dharampet Arts and Commerce College, Nagpur. Ma'am holds many significant positions. She has been ex-chairperson of English Language Committee, member for Bal Bharti, which is Maharashtra State Textbook Bureau, and along with that, she is on the board of studies of a few bodies like RTM Nagpur University, Brihan College of Commerce, Pune, Kavi Kulguru Kalidas Sanskrit University. Along with that, she is All India Vice President of Vidya Bharati, that is Akhil Bharatiya Uच्च Shiksha Abhiyan. And there are many more to be mentioned here. Ma'am is a member of Board of Studies of Languages at GS College of Commerce, which is an autonomous college. And she is a life member for Center for Literary Interaction and Creativity of Shakespeare Society. Along with that, ma'am has a long teaching experience of more than 30 years. However, she has joined the present institute in the year 2010, and even prior to that, she was engaging classes at postgraduate level at Dr. Ambedkar College, Diksha Bhumi, Nagpur, and she worked as junior college teacher at New English High School from 1991 to 2010. Ma'am is PhD supervisor. 4 scholars are presently working under her, and she is examiner for PhD thesis on the list at Pune University, and she has completed a minor research project which was sponsored by UGC. The title of the project was Preparation of Emotionally Intelligent Student-Friendly Structure to Enhance English Communicative Skill. Ma'am is on the various body as an expert in English, in communication of English, and she has experience of examination and and an award of she has won the award for best paper presentation on communicative approach at 2-day Vidarbha level LTI conference, which was held in the year 2006. Ma'am has authored around 10 books. Her articles and chapters have appeared in more than 14 books. She has papers, around 20 papers in peer-reviewed journals, and has presented around 18 papers. So on behalf of the organizers, I welcome ma'am to this session and hand over the mic to her for her presentation. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Kapil Singhel. That was an elaborate introduction. And at the outset, I would like to thank all the collaborating institutions who have really worked out on this MA third semester program. And friends, first of all, a hearty Republic Day. And on this Republic Day, I know you people are all busy, and still you people have found out time to attend this lecture. So thank you very much. And without wasting much time, I think we should directly move on to our topic. And today I'm going to deal with Emerson and Thoreau. Both of them are important essays. And in the beginning, we'll start with Emerson, Ralph Waldo Emerson. And we are going to deal with self-reliance, his essay on self-reliance. Now, friends, Self-reliance, before we start, let me share my screen. Yes. I'll just put it on the slideshow. Yes. So today we are going to deal with self-reliance, and it is written by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Now, self-reliance, it is an 1841 essay, basically written by American transcendentalist philosopher Ralph Waldo Emerson. It contains the most thorough statement of one of Emerson's recurrent themes. Now, what is his recurrent theme in most of his essays? It is the need for each individual to avoid conformity. What is conformity? Conformity means follow the standard rules, laws, okay? So he doesn't agree to this, and he feels that people should avoid being conformist, or they should avoid conformity and follow and false consistency also. People should not be consistent. Now we'll talk about what is conformity, what is consistency. Consistency means you stick to your beliefs. Okay, you have formed some of your beliefs, you believe some of the things to be true, you agree to so many things, and maybe after a few years, you should be able to, if you feel, you should be able to change your views. You should not stick to it. You should not be consistent, he says. Now, most of us do that. We are consistent throughout our lives. We stick to certain beliefs, maybe religious, political. We stick to certain beliefs. But he says, he talks of avoiding being in conformity or being consistent. Okay. So, because, we also now agree that, yes, whatever things were true maybe a few years earlier, now things have changed. And maybe if we talk of morals, if we talk of the other standards, many things have changed with the passage of time. So, whatever was true a few years earlier need not be true now. Or maybe, there is, again, we also say that there is nothing called as truth. It is your perception. So, if you stick to your beliefs, because you should be able to change with a person's growth in his age, with maturity, your perception also changes. Your views of life also change. So you shouldn't be consistent. You should be able to change, and you're changing, because, whatever you feel from inside, you should not stop that from coming. You shouldn't follow other people's instincts. You should follow your own instincts. That is what Emerson wants to say. Now, Emerson, he emphasizes the importance of individualism. Individualism means, what does this individual feel? Importance should be given to his views and opinions. Whatever you feel from inside, those feelings are always true. So he feels that emphasis should be given to the importance of individualism and its effect on an individual's satisfaction in life. So that will give you the true satisfaction. Okay. Now, the essay begins with 3 epigraphs. Here on the screen, you can see the epigraphs. And what are these 3 epigraphs? We'll talk about this. I have written these 3 epigraphs. The 3 epigraphs are: do not seek for things outside of yourself. What do you mean by this? You are looking for conformity. You are looking for things outside yourself. Somebody has told you and you agree to that. Whether you have seen, whether you agree to those beliefs or not, have you seen that? So a person's So the first thing is, do not seek for things outside yourself. You should look inside. If you concentrate on yourself, if you concentrate on your thoughts, maybe you will understand the reality and you will be satisfied with your views and thoughts, with the interpretation of things which you agree with yourself and which the definition of which is not given by people outside. Then the second is, a person's fate is not determined by the stars. Yes, we all agree. A person's fate is not determined by the stars. Stars don't determine your fate. You yourself determine your fate. And thirdly, he feels that children should be raised amidst nature, because the education children would receive amidst nature, it would be far ahead of something which is given to you through your teachers, through your parents. So children actually should be left to nature, and they will learn more if they are amidst nature. So Emerson includes these three epigraphs. One that, so here these are given, these are the three things, and these are the important themes of his essays. And the next thing, we will begin with the essay, Self-Reliance. I have put some key points which are there in his essay, and I have summarized these points which are important, which talk about his idea of self-reliance. Now, Emerson opens his essay by mentioning that he read a poem and he found himself stirred by its unconventionality. So, you know, you read and you are impressed by a poem, you are impressed by the thoughts of the poet. Then he notes that he is also, you know, stirred by the thoughts, by the feelings which are there in this poem. And he notes that truly original art frequently has that impact, and that the feelings such a work stirs are more important than the thought it contains. So he feels that, yes, when you read a poem, there is that impact of that poem on you. But you know that more than the impact, the facts which stirred the things which affected you, those are more important, you know. Like, for example, if you are reading Shakespeare, it is not that you should imitate Shakespeare. After reading Shakespeare, you should get your own thoughts. So that is more important. So that is what he says, that, okay, though he was stirred, it stirs your imagination. When you read something, you get that enlightenment. It stirs your imagination. Okay, so there is no need for you to copy the poet or copy the essayist or copy the playwright. But once you get that enlightenment, it should strike that, it should strike inside you, your own thought, your own interpretation of things which are around you, and not take the thought or not take the ideas which are given by the poet or by the essayist. Yes, that should be the, that should kindle your thought. That should give rise to your opinions. You know, it should be a stirring point, but you should not copy that from the poet or the essays, but it should stir your thoughts and imagination. So that is the role of true original art. Or to place one's thoughts out in the world. Now, to place one's thoughts out in the world because one believes they reveal something universal is what makes an individual a genius. So now, whatever comes from inside, whatever you feel from inside, you know, if you bring that thought to light, then you are a genius. So repetition will never make a person genius. Following somebody will never make you a genius. A person should be able to reflect his thoughts. Maybe you might feel, many people feel ashamed of their thoughts. Many people don't have confidence to bring their thoughts to light. And when somebody else puts that thought, then they realize, oh, I had already thought about it. So, you know, that's why whatever you think from inside, what is your own, when you bring that to light, it is your individuality, it is your genius. Emerson says he believes that most ordinary people never speak such thoughts out loud. Yes, it might have struck to them. So many things strike us, but we don't have that confidence to speak that thing aloud because we feel that maybe we are not correct. We have so many inhibitions. We don't speak all those things aloud. But maybe ordinary people also get these flashes of genius, and but they don't speak their thoughts aloud. So Emerson thinks people should learn to pay attention to intuitions when they arise, and they should voice them because they are worth even more than the pronouncements of a famous writer or philosopher. So this is what he is continuously saying, that instead of following people who you think are the leaders, you should have the confidence to express your own thoughts, okay? Express your own intuitions, because every person is unique, every person is different. So you never know, you can come up with something which other people have never thought of, because your circumstances are different, everybody's circumstances are different, everybody people are placed at different positions, people are placed means your situation, your circumstances, the way you are brought up in life, your experiences, they make the person you are. Therefore, every person is unique, and the universe has designed every person in a unique way. So instead of following other people, if you get some intuitions, you should have the confidence to speak it aloud. That is what Emerson wants to say. And you should pay attention to the intuition when they arise, and you should voice them out. That is very important. What a shame it is, he says, to have a moment of intuition without sharing it, only to hear the same thought expressed by other person. So it happens, just now I told you, that many a times it happens that something strikes you, but you don't have the confidence, you don't believe on your intuition, and somebody else speaks all those things out, and then that person becomes the forerunner. That person gets the credit of that particular idea or thought. Now, Emerson believes that every individual has a moment in their life when they recognize that envy is poisonous. So don't be jealous of other people, okay? Don't be envious of other people. They must have, yes, you agree to their points, you agree to their thoughts, you agree to their intuitions, but yes, that should stir your imagination, that should stir your thoughts, okay? So, but people are envious, and that envy is really poisonous. It is a lack of originality, and that lack of originality is really destructive, and that is important to accept oneself. So don't be envious of others. You have your own unique, distinctive qualities. So believe in yourself. He argues that each person has to do their own work to discover themselves and the goodness that is in the world. So you look at the world with your perception. You can find so many things on your own, and that should be more valuable. Every person is unique by the design of the universe, and God will never reward insight to the person who is not brave enough to embrace what makes him unique. So if you're not embracing what is unique to yourself, all your intuition is subdued. All your intuition is, why does it get subdued? Because you're following somebody else's thoughts. You are not giving importance to what is stirring you, what is there inside you, what stirs your thoughts. So only when you silently look inside, you will find what is the importance, what are your intuitions, and that is your individualism, your originality. So Emerson says that trust thyself. Trust thyself means trust yourself. That is the underlying thing that is the recurrent, theme in most of his essays, that is trust yourself. That is what we do the least. We don't trust ourselves. We believe in what the others say. We follow the others, but we don't trust our own intuitions. We don't trust ourselves. Now look at the babies. He has given the examples of babies, children, and even animals. They are perfect examples of what it really means to be self-reliant. Self-reliant means they rely on themselves. Okay? They don't think about the others. Babies, do they think about the others? No. Whatever they want, they do. They express themselves in the way they want. Even children, they say whatever they want. Even though the adults, even though the parents, adults, teachers tell them so many things, but you feel at many times they speak whatever they want. So it really comes from inside. You feel that it is just childish, but that is their intuition. And that is the example of So babies, children, and animals, they are the perfect, because animals also, they behave instinctively. So they are self-reliant. They believe in themselves. They trust themselves. Whatever they feel, they just express. Boys too, with their independent attitudes, lack respect for authority, and willingness to pass judgment on everything they encounter. Even boys, we feel like these teenagers, they don't want to listen to the elders and they just pass judgments. So yes, that is that age wherein they feel, because it is generation gap also, and they have their own set of thoughts. And so that is their independent attitudes. They talk what they feel. And this is what Emerson says. This gives to creativity. This gives way to invention, because if you keep on following what others say, you will never find out something new. You will never understand nature. You will never understand universe. So only when you follow your own instincts, there are chances that you might understand nature in its true self, different from what maybe others have understood. So if you want to understand nature, if you want to understand universe, there are ample of examples just around you. There are messages which the universe gives to you. But the problem is that you should have that confidence, you should have that aptitude, you should have that time to just pay attention to the messages which are given to you through the universe, or whatever your surroundings, your nature is given you. You should be amidst nature. If you're not amidst nature, you will never understand the messages given by nature. Now let us move on to the next part, where Emerson says that self-reliance is the opposite of conformity. Conformity means, just now I told you, conformity means you follow the set standards, rules, laws, So who are these people who make these rules, make these laws? Yes, once the laws are made, you all have to follow. But with the changing times, we have seen the laws are not true permanently. Changing circumstances need the laws also to be changed. Maybe one person has devised, people in a particular age have devised the laws, but with the changing days, people have different realizations, and people feel that, yes, whatever in the earlier age was true, maybe in this age it is not true. Even regarding morals, Now, human values do, even though the human values remain the same, we feel that certain things are right. But maybe in the olden days, there were certain things which were considered to be correct. With the coming in the coming days, in the coming with the changing circumstances, you feel that yes, it needs to be, the laws need to be altered. There are so many examples which Emerson has given in his essay, Selfreliance. So all the great people, you know, earlier they were doubted, but then they stuck to their opinion, they stuck to their views. Yes, whatever inventions and discoveries have happened, yes, they have happened because people followed their instincts. People thought of doing something new. People wanted to follow a path which they felt that yes, this path was not followed by somebody else. They traveled a lesser known path, they tried something new, though people called them stupids, people called them fools, but yes, they did not pay heed to the opinions of people, and they followed their instincts. So Emerson believes that when we are alone, we can be like babies and the boys, which he has described earlier, and we should pay attention to our own voices. Society everywhere is in conspiracy against the manhood of every one of its members. You know, society. So society, a collection of people and then there are certain rules which need to be followed in the society. So when we get into society, society exerts its pressures on us, more specifically by asking us to be virtuous. So in society, we need to follow laws, rules, and only people who follow those laws and rules, they are considered virtuous. So Emerson compares society to a joint stock company in which the price of investment is one's manhood or independence. So in society, you lose your independence. You have to follow the norms of the society. So that price is usually what society sees as virtue. So if you follow the norms of the society, then you are a virtuous person. And what society most recognizes as virtue is conformity. So conformity, you should stick to the rules, laws, which are devised by the people of the society. Yes. So self-reliance, however, is the opposite of conformity. So only if you agree, only if your mind tells you that, yes, this is true, then only you should follow. So this is what Emerson wants to say. You should rely on your own self. So self-reliance, however, is the opposite of conformity. And Emerson sees most of the society's virtues as mere custom and deference to the respected people. So the customs, if you follow customs, then you are virtuous. But maybe many a times you might feel that you don't agree to the customs. So Emerson advocates self-reliance. He wants you to come up with opinions, you come up with feelings which are there inside you. Yes, because those instincts are true and they will always guide you to the right path. According to Emerson, whosoever would be a man must be a conformist. Any individual who wants to be truly themselves must therefore be a non-conformist. So if you want to be truly yourself, the person you are, then you should be a non-conformist. You shouldn't stick to the rules and you should not be governed by the societal norms. And you should question for yourselves, even though people tell you this is right, you should believe it, you should feel that yes, this is right. So it should come from within. So any individual who wants to be truly themselves must therefore be a non-conformist and question for themselves. So you should question for yourself. You should try to find out for yourself whether what society calls goodness is good after all. Just don't believe, just don't follow blindly. The only thing that is truly good is the integrity of your mind. When your mind tells you that this is good, then it is truly good. Why? Because your mind will never take you on a wrong path. So Emerson says that integrity of your own mind is very important. And the sooner a person realizes, the sooner they will be free. Otherwise, you will be in the shackles of the Society. Emerson expresses disappointment that the individual conforms to conventional morality even when it contradicts what the individual intuitively knows to be the most moral course of the action. So what is the moral course of the action? You know it from inside. When you behave in a particular manner with your friend, with your colleagues, you know whether you are behaving in the right manner or not. Maybe the society has some norms which are given, but you yourself know whether your intuitions, your mind tells you whether your behavior is correct or not. So there is your mind, your conscience, it is the true guide. So whether a thing is moral or not, whether you are following a moral course of action or not, you know it from inside. Now, because of this tendency, people whose behavior should be questioned are not, as long as they espouse conventional morality. So due to the means in the society, there are norms, and maybe they are not good in the real sense. But yes, the society confirms. So those norms or those conventional morality things, Emerson doesn't agree. It would be better, Emerson believes, for people to take care of those for whom they genuinely care than to engage in charity. So, people don't care about the people at home, and then they are busy doing charity outside. So it is not in conformity, isn't it? What are you doing is you are following certain rules. Why? Because society will be able to see your charity. But what you do at home, what you do with your people, the people who matter to you, maybe these things are not visible, but your conscience tells you what is right and wrong. So doing charity is not important. Taking care of the people at home, your near and dear ones, that is more important. So Emerson feels that you should take care of those for whom you really, you should care for people who are your near and dear ones, people who are connected to you, and instead of doing charity. Because, doing charity is very conventional. So conventional things are not necessarily the good things. Sometimes he himself conforms to societal expectations of goodness. So Emerson admits that he also does the same things. Maybe what the written norms of society are. But he knows that such conformity is evil because it does not arise from his own sense of right and wrong. So if it arises from your own sense, you really know that this is right and this is wrong. Okay, the norms of the society should not be your guidance points. Now Emerson observes that conventional morality is effectively a toll that an individual pays to belong to society. So when you follow the norms of the society, you are actually observing the conventional morality, but you have to pay a lot for just adhering to those norms of conventional morality, because maybe you are also following the wrong norms, you are also following the wrong principles. For his part, Emerson would much rather do right by his own conscience, even if doing so means he incurs the disapproval of society. So many a times the norms laid by society you don't agree, and you should have the courage to do what your mind tells you, even though the society might disapprove of this. Ultimately, he tries to live for what his mind tells him is right and not what looks pleasing to society at large. So here Emerson advocates, he says that you do what you feel is right, not necessarily what the society feels is right. So this is a very important aspect of self-reliance. You should rely on your own self, because your mind, your conscience will never lead you on a wrong path. This is what he is continuously telling us. Now, Emerson states that what I must do is all that concerns me. So what you are doing, it should concern you, not what the people think. You should never do what people think is right. You should do whatever activities you do those activities because you want to do those activities. Okay, from inside you will get satisfaction if you follow your instincts, if you do the activities which you want to do, and not to impress others or not what others want. Don't lead other people's lives. This is, said by so many people. Don't live other people's lives. Live your own life. Do what you think is true and not what others think is true. That means he is not concerned with the appearance of goodness. He only cares about what he believes to be right. Now, living by such a rule is difficult. However, because there will always be someone who thinks it is their job to tell you right from wrong. So there are people, there is moral policing, which is always happening in society. Your parents will tell you what is right and wrong. Your teachers would tell you what is right and wrong. The leaders of the society would tell you what is right and what is wrong. So there are always people who are there who would be telling you what is right and what is wrong. But just don't blindly believe in what they say. You have to realize it yourself. Living by such a rule is difficult, however, because every now and then somebody will be telling you what is right and wrong. But Emerson observes that living according to conventional morality is easy when you live in the world. So when you live in the world, when what the society, what the rules of the society are, what the conventional morality is, if you follow that, it is very easy for you to live your life. Because yes, you are living according to the rules and regulations of the society. But if you go against that, if you from inside feel that yes, for example, there are so many reformations which have come, there are so many peoples who were called rebels in the beginning, but ultimately these peoples have become the leaders. For example, when you talk, if you talk of sati in India, if you talk of sati, if you talk about all the wrong customs in the society, there were people who raised their voice. Yes, they went against the society and then they became the leaders. Yes, so because they felt from inside that whatever these customs are, they are not correct. So they had that confidence to just raise their voice against the society, become rebels. But ultimately, why? That was not the wrong thing they were doing. They understood, they realized that was what they were experiencing, isn't it? When you experience what is right, what is wrong, you have that feeling inside you. So you should live according to that. If you feel that the customs in the society are wrong, you should have the courage to speak against all those things, or you live your own life. Okay. Because it's easy. Otherwise, many a times, if you go against the society, you have to stay alone. So you should not be afraid to stay in solitude. So when you live in solitude, it takes an independent spirit for a person to live by his own conscience within society. So in a society where you don't agree with the rules, with the conventional morality and things like that, it becomes very difficult for you to stay in that society. And it requires courage also to stay in that society. The struggle to do so, he believes, is worth the effort. Now, Emerson's primary objection to living one's life on the basis of conventional morality is that it obscures who the individual really is as a person. So, if you follow the conventional morality, then you forget your individualism. You don't agree. Many a times, whatever things have happened in society related to the rules and laws, customs related to women, you don't agree. You feel that women were denied justice. Okay, but you couldn't do anything, though you felt from inside that yes, this is whatever is happening is wrong, but you did not have courage to speak against the society. So, it is very difficult. It requires a lot of courage. And to take any objection to whatever the conventional moral, if you agree, if you just don't have, if you are timid, if you are weak, then you'll agree. Most of the people are timid and weak, and they don't want to like go against the norms, and they want to lead a very peaceful life. But that is not, you are not leading your own individual, you are not leading your, what you say, life to your satisfaction. That is not you, who you are. So if you want to really experience life in the good sense, then you should follow your instincts. A person who has embraced conventional morality is completely predictable and false to themselves in every way. So you are predictable because you are following the norms. You know that this is right, this is wrong. You are predictable, isn't it? But if you have your own views and opinions, if you have your own reasonings, logical reasonings, yes, then it is that you are following your conscience. You are not just relying on the rule, norms, conventions of the society, but you, from inside, you believe that this particular thing is true, and therefore you are following it. So that is relying on your own self. Now, for non-conformity, people who don't conform, people who don't adhere to the rules, laws of the society, the world whips you with displeasure. Yes. So the world doesn't like you. Yes. Emerson says that it would be to the thinking person's advantage to consider what expressions of disapproval really mean. So disapproval, why people disapprove, or why you disapprove of what is happening in society. Why? There are certain logical reasonings to that. It could mean nothing after all, since conventional people's displeasure changes like a wind. So whatever conventions of the society are, they are going to change. Society has changed from so many years. Society has changed. So if you feel that certain things are not right in the society, maybe you are ahead of your times. You don't agree to whatever is happening. Yes, and things will change. Things are bound to change. So that's why you should, so the people who don't agree, then the society doesn't approve of them. But you have to boldly face all those things. It could mean nothing after all, because, after a particular time, the norms of the society change. Now, displeasure from cultivated people is actually quite easy to deal with, Now, there are different kinds of people in society. So when you don't agree, what are the reactions? What are the reactions from the cultivated people? People who are literate, people who are the so-called elites. Now, displeasure from cultivated people who are cultured, cultivated, so-called. Again, the meaning of cultured is into inverted commas. So cultivated, cultured. Maybe with the coming time, the definitions of being cultured, it might also change. So displeasure from cultivated people is actually quite easy to deal with. But to deal with these cultivated people is really easy because it is gentle. But dealing with displeasure of the lowest of people or the mob can be hard, because when it is a mob mentality, they speak their minds. Yes, it is expressed loudly and ferociously. So when you are dealing with a mob, it is very difficult for you to express than when you deal with cultivated people. Yes. Now we move ahead, and Emerson says that the other thing that prevents trust in oneself is the mistaken idea that consistency is virtue. Okay, so we feel that consistency is virtue. Is consistency a virtue? Consistency means you have formed your belief and you stick to it throughout your life. Consistent, you are consistent. So consistency. Now, it is very important for you to just think whether consistency is a virtue. You had a particular belief, maybe you read certain things and you formed your beliefs. Maybe you have experienced, maybe you have grown up in a particular way and you have developed this thought, you stick to it. And then, are you consistent with it or you change? And if you change, then what? Should you be consistent? Is consistency a virtue? So Emerson says that the other thing which prevents trust in oneself is the mistaken idea that consistency is a virtue. So he says that it is a mistaken idea that consistency is a virtue. He says it is not necessary that consistency is a virtue. People judge who we are by our past acts and words. Emerson says that we are afraid to go against them today. Now they have formed, oh, you were like this, your beliefs were like this, you were a good person because you were adhering to adhering to the norms of the society. So, oh, you were like this, but now you have changed, you have become a rebel. Or maybe you don't agree with in the following days, or maybe after a few years, you don't agree to the norms, then people will think that you are not what you were in the past. So we are afraid to go against them today. Why drag around this corpse of your memory? Emerson asks, when really there is nothing to be lost by contradicting it. So Emerson tells us that yes, we can contradict our own selves. Whatever we have said or we have done in the past, maybe now if you don't agree, you should have the courage to go against your own self also. You should have that much of courage to contradict yourself. So he says nothing wrong. It's not necessary that you should be consistent. And consistency is not a virtue. If you feel that yes, whatever I was doing up till now is wrong, you can change. At least that is being honest with your own self. You should, so he uses the word that you should not drag your memory, the corpse of your memory. Corpse, he's using the word corpse. So those thoughts are no more, the thoughts are dead now. They are no more relevant to you. So that's why you should not drag the corpse of your memory. Emerson says, when really there is nothing to, because you're not going to lose anything if you contradict yourself now. You're not going to lose anything. The individual who would be self-reliant should instead simply live in the present. So he says you should live in the present. Yes, maybe what you thought in the past was not correct. You should contradict yourself and you should come up with your fresh ideas, because now you have grown inside. You realize you have matured, you have different ideas now, and your mind tells you that yes, this is not right. So you should have the confidence to contradict yourself. Yes. The individual who would be self-reliant should instead simply live in the present. So you should live in the present. Don't drag the corpse of your memory. Such consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds. Every individual should freely contradict themselves without fear of possibility of being misunderstood. So that is what he's saying, that you should not, you should have that courage to contradict your own self. This is a very important point. Doing so would put a person in the company of all the famous and good people in Western culture, whom Emerson goes on to list. So there are so many people he lists. He gives a list of the person, and those people, Newton, Galileo, you give a list, he has given a list of the people, and all these people have listened to their conscience. They have adopted a different path than what was recommended or what generally were the thoughts of the people. If you follow the thoughts of your teachers, if you don't try things for yourself, then you will never be coming out with something new, with original, and your unique identity will be lost following other people's ideas. With regards to consistency, Emerson reminds the reader that human nature has its own internal consistency. So it truly is impossible for a person to do something against their own nature, as long as that person is honest with themselves. So, there is a consistency inside. That consistency you should follow. So what is that consistency? Maybe in the past you felt that this is right. Maybe you listened to you were affected by the things around you, but now you have a different maturity. You have contradicted yourself. Yes, nothing wrong but from inside, you will be consistent with your mind. Whatever you followed your mind. Earlier you followed something, now you followed something, but you are following your conscience. So you should be following your conscience, what your intuition tells you, what your mind tells you. The self-reliant individual has much consistency as any part of the natural world. So you have that consistency inside. It's not necessary that you should have the consistency outside. Your thoughts might change. So you might feel that earlier, already we've discussed that. So outside, if you change, doesn't matter. Even though people might call you inconsistent, doesn't matter. But inside you are consistent. So you should be consistent from inside. You should do what your conscience feels is true. So Emerson has, in his essay, he has given several metaphors that compare human nature to mountain ranges, pines, and a swallow. The Andes mountains or the Himalayas mountain, they look jagged if observed from close up. They look jagged. Jagged means they have all those sharp edges. If you look them, if you go close, you can see the sharp edges of these mountains. But look, these mountains, they look uniform if one observes them from a distance. So what the mountains really are, you will not be able to understand until and unless you go and observe them closely. He also compares human nature with zigzagging course of a ship that, seen on a large scale, sticks to a path that brings it to its final destination. So many a times the ship has to follow a zigzag path to reach to its destination. So nothing wrong. We can also, the human nature is also like that. So we can take a zigzag path to reach our destination. There is no need for you to take a straight path. No, if you want to take diversions, that is very much essential also if it works according to your mind. If your conscience tells you, you should follow that zigzag path also. Persistence in living according to one's own conscience will always bring a person to the right course of action. So if you follow your own conscience, it will always, the course of action will always be right. And the impact of such actions is cumulative. So every time if you are doing a right action, whatever the situation might be, if you don't give in, if you always follow the right action, ultimately the cumulative action will be that you are following the right course of action. And the impact of such actions is cumulative and a truth that is readily illustrated also. Emerson believes in the lives of people admired in the past for greatness. Okay. So he says that ultimately he has given self-reliance is all about looking inside, being in conformity with whatever your mind tells you. So when you talk of conformity, when you talk of consistency, it should be the inner consistency. Okay. Emerson's wish for his age is that people will finally come to understand how ridiculous consistency and conformity are. So this we are talking of the outer conformity, okay? The external conformity, which is visualized by people. So he says it is how ridiculous that conformity is, people will realize. Yes, up till now, like there were people who said earlier that the people felt that the sun goes around the earth and the earth doesn't go around the sun. So, and these are the things which people did not realize in the beginning. So if you, at that time, if you would have stuck to that, if you confirmed, if you adhered only to those rules of the society, those views and opinions of the society, there would not have been any further advancement in science or technology. Why? There is advancement in science and technology. There is advancement in all the spheres of human nature, even nature, what you are inside. It is the happening, it is inconsistency, which is what is happening around you. So your views and opinions are also formed on the basis of that, but you have to realize that from inside. So the conformity and consistency should be coming from inside. So he feels that people will ultimately come, they will realize, one day they will realize that how ridiculous consistent, like now we realize how foolish were we to say that the sun revolves around the earth or the sun goes around the earth. But maybe after a few years from now, there would be some other observations which the scientists might come up with. So why they would come up with something different, some different things? Why? Because they are relying on their own instincts, they are relying on their own knowledge and wisdom instead of just blindly following whatever. Yes, you should read. It's not that you should not read, you should not get the knowledge from others. Yes, but that should only be the stirring point. That should stir you to kindle your own knowledge and wisdom. That is what Emerson is saying. Conformity to society should therefore be actively opposed. So, and Emerson hopes that individual will, your own will, reprimand the smooth mediocrity and squalid contentment of the times and hurl in the face of custom and trade and office the fact which is the upshot of all history, and that there is a great responsible thinker and actor working wherever a man works. So everywhere Emerson is telling you, he is reminding you that human nature has its own internal consistency. You don't need to follow society. Okay, it is truly impossible for a person to do something against his own nature as long he is honest with himself. If you're not honest with yourself, then you will keep on listening to other people's views, and even though you don't agree, but you feel that the society, everybody, there are all the people are following these rules, norms, so you also follow, though from inside you realize that this is not true. Given that the people commonly revered by society, because these are the people who are revered by the society, these are the people who are important. They were just individuals with complete self-trust. Now, why have they become leaders? Why have they given you some ideas which now the whole society is following? Because they listen to their own conscience. Therefore, they have become leaders. They have given their points, their views and opinions, their instincts. Emerson says modern individuals should take heart that their intuitions and self-trust are equal to anyone else's. So you should feel that even your, whatever you trust, whatever you believe, whatever comes from your conscience, you should follow. You should have the courage to follow that. Don't think that if others might call you wrong. No, you should have the courage to stick to whatever you feel is true. An ordinary person might think that there is nothing in them. We feel, oh, no, I am just an ordinary person. Whatever I think that whatever is happening in the society or whatever, this particular thing is wrong. But I'm an ordinary person. How can I say something against it? No, everybody is unique. So an ordinary person might think that there is nothing in them that corresponds to the force which built a tower or sculptured a marble god, or might feel that a palace, a statue, or a costly book have an alien or forbidding air. But a more self-reliant attitude would help the individual to understand that their own human perceptions are more important than the physical art or architecture they perceive. You see so much of architecture, you see so much of art, but whatever your perceptions are, whatever your angle of looking at the things are, there are things happening, there an accident takes place, there are so many people who are present there, who have witnessed that accident, but there are several people, and several people would have their own way of looking at that incident. So if there is a work of art, there are art, after all, when you look at nature, there are so many people who are looking at nature, we are looking at nature. It's not necessary that you should draw the picture as somebody else has drawn. No, you can draw according to the perception you have of that particular object in nature. So that is a self-reliant attitude. You to believe, to trust your own perceptions. Now, so here he says that individual perceptions are on par with even more important. So he gives importance to individual perceptions. He says that these are more important than the actual work. Earlier also we talked that yes, you have your own perception. The imagination you can get that what you say, your thoughts may be stirred from that art, by that piece of art, but your perception of that architecture or looking at nature also might be so different. So follow your instinct. Every paragraph talks about following your own intuitions and instincts. So that is being self-reliant. So he has talked about various ways in which you can be self-reliant and basically looking inside. Emerson believes that there is something that draws us to people who live with self-trust. So, people who believe in themselves, people who come up with some different ideas. Why? How do they get ideas? Because they have listened to their own self. And then we are in awe. For these people, we have that awe and we look at them in awe. And because they are following their instincts, they have come up with something new. Nowadays, there are so many startups coming up. So people now want to follow their ideas. Yes, so that is coming up with, so therefore we have so many new things coming up. If we would have followed the old things only, there would not have been so many, different services, different activities which we are now getting. So self-trust, believe in yourself. Self-trust is very important. He asks, what is the basis of that self-trust? So how will you get that self-trust? That is very important. How will you get that self-trust? And that's self-trust which draws our admiration in the same way a star would. So we are in awe and wonder of the star. Yes. So what can we do to get that awe and admiration? The ultimate, Emerson says that the ultimate source of self-trust or the essence of genius is intuition. So you have to listen to your conscience. And to listen to your conscience, you should not have fog. Your mind should not be fogged. You should have a clear clarity. And when will you have clarity? When you believe in your own self. You should have the time to look into yourself, what your mind is telling you. Yes, you should have knowledge, you should have information. All these are building points, but you should not build your opinion on the basis of what others say, but those should be your kindling points. But you should ultimately follow your intuition. People who follow their intuitions, they are the genius. So if you want to be a genius, have trust in yourself. It is the intuition, and all other beliefs and teachings are built upon that foundation. So you should have the foundation of your beliefs. So on the beliefs of so if you have the foundation which is formed on the basis of your beliefs, then you can be a genius. We can recognize institutions in moments of self-reflection. We can recognize intuitions. Everybody has intuitions, but there are people who don't care for their intuitions. isn't it? They lose all those precious moments, revelations, which or the divine messages you are getting. Emerson says, calm hours that reveal the underlying unity of everything. So therefore, meditation, people talked of meditation. Give time. Think, just forget about everything. Concentrate on your inner self. Those calm hours, they talk. The silence speaks aloud. The silence will give you so many intuitions. They will give you ideas. So the calm hours, the serenity, the peace of mind is very important. So the calm hours that reveal the underlying unity of everything, the soul, space, light, and time are unified because they are all from the same source. So, all these things are from the same source. Which things are from the same source? The soul. Yes, when your soul is in conformity with the nature, when your soul is adhering to the laws of nature, you can never go wrong. So, the soul, then the space, light, and time, they are unified because they are all from the same source. We are all one. We are a part and parcel of this universe. We are the soul of this universe. So definitely, if you pay attention to what the universe is telling, what the nature is, there are so many messages in nature, but you should have that, perception to understand what the messages are. Your senses should take in the messages which the nature wants to give. We forget this merely from force of habit, but in truth, we lie in the lap of immense intelligence. We are lying in the lap of immense intelligence. There is so much of knowledge. There is so much of enlightenment around us. But enlightenment, there is so much of whatever you want to know. That is everything available. Everything is available around you. But you should have your senses. Should be your senses should be sensitive enough to understand the things happening around you. So we are lying in the lap of immense intelligence, which makes us receivers of its truth and organs of its activity. If we observe the universe at work, especially in nature, we will become wise. So people said, see, man has really advanced as far as science and technology is concerned. But when tsunami came, what happened? The people, maybe the fishermen, the tribal people, they understood, they got an inkling that the tsunami is coming and they were saved. So how did this happen? We have this advanced technology, but it was not able to give us that warning or save us. But these tribals who did not have any such technology, but just being amidst nature, they could understand, they could get the warning of this tsunami or coming, whatever natural disasters are going to happen. The animals get an inkling. How do the animals get an inkling? So, if you are in close proximity to nature, you get these intuitions, you get this, and your intuitions, and such intuitions do not go wrong. So everything in existence can serve as a source of truth. Whatever is there in existence, that can serve as truth. Everything around us is truth only. It is how we perceive that truth. If you follow others' perception, it is his perception, his way of looking. Now there is an object. A person might, like how the blind men look at the elephant. The blind men try to understand the elephant. It is so. We are also like those blind men, and we are just trying to understand how the elephant is from different people's angles. Yes, we should follow our own intuition. That is what the other people might give us some perceptions, but yes, those are some of the points on the basis of which we should derive our own we should derive our own we should have our own realization. We should draw truth from accumulating all these things, and we should have our own mind telling us. We should go by our own instincts and the knowledge we have. We should follow our own conscience. So everything in nature can serve as a source of truth. And our ability to perceive justice and truth are really just the universe expressing reality through us. So the universe is giving messages. So many poets, so many writers have written about these messages, divine messages which are there in the universe. So we should ourselves find out these messages. If you are in proximity to nature, the more you are in proximity to nature, you will understand the messages. Emerson distinguishes these perceptions from intellectual notions of our experiences by noting that perceptions are involuntary and spontaneous. Okay, while intellectual notions are, now see, something which you understand spontaneously, your reactions are spontaneous. Those are true reactions. But if you give a thought to it, then if you think intellectually, then intellectual notions are the result of individual's conscious choice. So it is a conscious choice. You are thinking, you are attributing so many things to that. So you are attributing other person's knowledge, other person's instincts also. But you should give more importance to what you feel. And so if spontaneously what comes from inside, that is more important. Maybe it is involuntary, it comes suddenly. That is more important than taking time and thinking consciously and attributing so many other things to that. So Emerson believes that ability to tap into the underlying unity of existence, God in this case, through perception, means that people should never allow anything to get in the way of that perception. So you should not allow anything to get into the perception. You can yourself have the perception, the messages from God. You can understand God by looking inside, by understanding what is happening around you, what the nature wants to tell you. Therefore, anyone who insists that the individual should turn to conventional means of understanding the divine, means going to temples, reading text, following the teachers, this should be dismissed out of hand. So these are the wrong ways of understanding God. You should understand God yourself. All these things of the past are meaningless when it comes to the soul perceiving. So yes, rather than timidly looking to the past, individuals would be better off looking to nature to understand how to move through the world. So if you want to move through the world, you yourself, see, when you want to know, every now and then you are in a, there are two options in front of you, whether you should follow this or whether you should follow that. So your intuition, your good sense tells you what is right and what is wrong. And if you have that clarity, then you will always follow the right course of action. You will understand how to move through the world. Emerson posits, he observes that the blade of grass, the rosebud, this is it's a very nice example, He says that the blade of grass or the rosebud, the leaf bud and the root are all complete without reference. So they don't refer to their past, isn't it? They live always in the present. Now, people on the other hand continually look to the past or the future. You see, there are so many roses which might have gone before this particular rose. So they don't, refer to the other roses which have gone ahead or before them. So the rose, though it has such a small life, it depends on its present. So it blooms, it is so fresh, so live in the present. That is the message which is given to us by Emerson. What do? People should learn from roses, people should learn from leaves. And the people on the other hand, what do? They continuously look to the past or future instead of living in the moment and perceiving the universe all around them. The individual will never achieve happiness unless they are also live in the present and reject the notion of the time. So, you should live in the present. Whatever may have happened in the past, maybe it is not true today, and maybe it will not be true tomorrow. Things might change. So live in the present. This is the message which Emerson wants to give us. The individual will never achieve happiness unless they also live in the present. This approach should be completely obvious, but conventional morality leads people to instead turn to some authority outside of themselves. So he always tells you to look inside. Do not take refuge in something outside. Emerson explains the central point of the preceding discussion. He explains that his articulation of self-reliance is really only an approximation of the intuition from which it arose. So each person is ultimately, see here, each person is ultimately responsible for discovering what morality is for themselves. So you should be able to discover what is morality yourself instead of listening from your teachers. Yes, I told you in the beginning also that all those things, they stir your thoughts, but ultimately from inside you know what is true and what are the real virtues. Emerson claims that society hates that movement of transcendence because it upsets traditional hierarchies and conventional notions of morality. So society will not like it. Why? Because there are certain trends, there are hierarchies, and nobody wants to disturb this hierarchy. It gives power. So nobody wants to disturb this hierarchy. But the ultimate form of self-reliance or the eminent virtue is extremely powerful, and it allows individuals or groups of individuals who possess it to overrule the arbitrary powers that currently dominate society. Emerson respects every ordinary experiences. See, he says every person should have their own experiences to develop their thoughts. So what are the ordinary experiences? Hardships, husbandry, hunting, whaling, war, elocutions, all these things, they are a little closer to that notion of virtue than the convention. As there is the same principle of conservation and growth at work, okay, in nature, you see that, yes, you should experience all these things yourself. So basically, proximity to nature, experience, get your own experiences. This is what is advocated by Emerson. Everything in nature reflects self-reliance. Everything, you observe the plants, how do they grow? They don't depend on others. Even animals, everything in nature talks about self-reliance. Only human beings don't depend on themselves. They don't depend on their own intuitions. Everything in nature gives you this, message that yes, self-reliance, you should be self-reliant, trust yourself, trust your instincts. So this is the message of God given to you. So Emerson believes that with an understanding of the supreme importance of self-reliance as virtue, the individual can confidently dismiss conventional morality and engage with God by staying at home rather than looking elsewhere, and live a life of simplicity. So if you live a life of simplicity, if you are amidst nature, no need of going anywhere. You can experience the truth sitting at home also. Now, we move ahead. Emerson laments that despite the good that could come from self-reliant morality, society is still mostly influenced by conformity as morality. Okay, so Emerson says that morality should be self-reliant. You should understand what the morality is, what virtues are, instead of depending on the society to tell you the conventional morality. He believes that given the culture of his age, spiritual solitude probably still provides the best chance of the individual achieving self-reliance. So if the individual cannot maintain that state, then at a minimum, Emerson believes they can still call out falseness which they see it. If you see, okay, you see that this is false, you should have that the confidence to say that this is false and I don't adhere to this, even if it means hurting or disappointing those who are closest to them. So even if your close ones are doing something wrong, which you feel is wrong, you should have the courage. Okay, then self-reliant individuals will also experience blowback from society as a whole. Yes, you will get blows. If you don't adhere, you will get blows from the society, which will accuse the individual of embracing a complete lack of all morals. People might say that you lack morals. But Emerson responds to this possible accusations by pointing out that self-reliant individual can absolve themselves of guilt by making sure they have met responsibilities to those closest to them, or if those responsibilities do not accord with the individual's notions of morality, by dismissing such concerns out of hand. So, this is very important. So even if people are close to you, you should have the confidence. You should follow your own instincts and say whether this is right or wrong. Follow your own instincts. This is what is continuously being told to us by Emerson in the essay Self-Reliance. And now we come to the last part, that just looking at the weakness of society, Emerson says it should make the need for an unconventional morality very clear. Emerson sees his age as one that is governed by fear, one that has produced no truly great people. So there was a time when there were no great people. Why? Because they lacked intuition. The ordinary people, they needed to reform what he says as a broken American society. Everything commonly labeled as American, Emerson claims, is in fact merely borrowed from other cultures, and that which is not is in a poor state. So he feels that the Americans should not borrow from other cultures. They should really, they have so many things. They have so many things around them which can form that they should have their own culture. This is what he says. They should not borrow from the other cultures. They should. That is why there is no need for people to travel. Even if they stay at their own place, look at things around them, they will really understand so many things if they follow things around them. One can see this weakness of young men from American cities. Now, even here, Indians also, we also do the same things. We have a very rich culture, but unless and until we get conformity from the Western people, we don't agree to all those things. Like yoga, we had yoga since the times of yore. But then when the Americans gave a stamp to us, when they started following it, then we realize it. So Indian culture itself is strong. We should also look at things around us. We should give importance to our own culture, because that is a way, that is a path to understand, because there are so many different paths. There are so many ways to understand nature, to understand God. We should follow our instincts, our culture, the things which are around us, the nature around us, to really understand what God is, and to be in conformity with nature, universe. Okay, so people should really govern themselves by individual intuition. This is the underlying thing which Emerson wants to tell us. Now, quickly, we will go on to the other essay, which is Where I Lived and What I Lived For. This is by Henry David Thoreau. So Thoreau also follows Emerson only, and as far as this Where I Lived and What I Lived For, again, where I lived and what I lived for. So it's really philosophical. Now, what does Henry David Thoreau wants us to understand? I hope this is visible. Now, along with Emerson, Thoreau was one of the most important thinkers of his time in America, and he's still widely read today. Walden, the work for which he is best known, is drawn from the journal he kept during his 2-year-long stay in a cabin on Walden Pond in Walden Pond. In Walden, Thoreau explores his interest in naturalism, individualism, and self-sufficiency. So on the same lines of Emerson, he also advocates individualism self-sufficiency, and believes in naturalism also. Now, where I lived and what I lived for is taken from Walden only. In it, Thoreau makes the argument for his going to live in the woods. So he goes and lives in the wood. And what is his argument? Why does he want to go and live in the woods? Now, where should his house be located? Thoreau considers where his house should be located. He has talked to all the nearby farmers and imagined buying their houses and living there. He believes a place in the country to be the best. So he thinks about so many places where he should go and stay. He talks to farmers and he thinks about buying a farm. Okay. He believes that a place in the country will be the best, far from the village. And in his imagination, he lays out the plans to many houses, and then he decides against building them. He doesn't want to build them. Why? Because he says true richness is leaving things alone. The nearest Thoreau came to possessing a house was when he intended to buy the Hollowell farm. But then the farmer's wife changed her mind and didn't want to sell. So he wanted to buy this farm also. But then, he says, leave things alone, because whatever will happen when time comes. We cannot plan things. He wanted to buy the farm, but the person's wife did not want to sell. The farm belonged to a farmer's wife, and she didn't want to sell it. So he discusses the virtues of the farm, but in the end is consistent not to have compromised his poverty by acquiring it. And he says he took with him the beauty of the landscape, which is the best part of the farm. Now, on Independence Day, 1845, Thoreau begins living in the woods full time. So on Independence Day, and today is also a Republic Day for us. Now, Independence Day, this also tells you that yes, if you want to set yourself free, if you want to be independent, so then you should be amidst nature. So this is what he is also doing. So on the Independence Day, he set off, and he wanted to stay in the woods, so he set off for the woods. Thoreau begins living in the woods full time, day in, day out. The house, not yet finished, is glorious because it is a part of nature, with the wind blowing through it and the company of birds. Now he is staying amidst nature, yes, in the woods. And there are butterflies, there are birds who give him company. There is the pure air, wind, not the artificial AC or fans, but he is if you really experience wind, not only wind, if you experience the elements of nature, the fire, water, all these things give you that freshness which you cannot get from all these artificial things. If you just pour water over your head, it is so refreshing. If you just are in proximity to fire, you get that warmth. If you are in the wind, standing some time in the wind, if you just for 5-10 minutes also, if you stand in the wind, it is so refreshing, So elements of these are the elements, and if you are amidst the elements, it is so really refreshing. And Thoreau's first impression of the pond, which is sometimes misty in the early morning, sometimes still and clear as when there is gentle rain, is that it is like a lower heaven. So he experiences heaven here in nature, here on earth. So he says, if you are in the wood, if you are experiencing all these things in nature, it is like heaven, with a vista and mountains spreading over it. Though men are in the habit of imagining faraway lands, Thoreau finds that his new living place, so close by, has all the glories of nature, and this made him feel just as far away from the previous life as if he had traveled far. So, this is where I lived. So where I lived, when he lived in nature, what kind of a life he really lived, and what I lived for. What are you living here for? What is your life for? What are you living for? This is also very important. It is not moving. We come to the last slide. is not moving, I think. Okay. Yes. So we come to the last part of this. It's a small one. Nature is his spiritual guide, he says, leading him in its simple natural rhythms towards his own spiritual path and his proper work. So nature is his guide. Morning is Thoreau's invitation to make his life simple and commune with nature. Every morning he bathes in the pond, calling it a religious exercise. He calls morning the time all important events, including poetry and art, occur. Even I feel mornings are very refreshing. Whatever creativity I want to really do, that creativity comes to me in the morning only. So it is the time that intelligence wake, as says the Vedas. In the Vedas also it is said that mornings are, in the morning, the intelligence wakes up. Okay. Now, transcendentalism sets out Thoreau's spiritual goals. Self-reliance and simplicity, it entails, is the method he used to go after them. So he says self-reliance and simplicity. These two things are very important. The simplicity of life, simple way of living, be amidst nature. Thoreau urges each man to awaken fully and elevate his life by conscious endeavor. It is man's duty to make every moment of his life meaningful. Thoreau went to the woods to live deliberately. Deliberately, he went to the woods. He has faith in simplicity as the path to spiritual wakefulness. Now, Thoreau laughs about the absurdity of a man who wakes from a nap and asks for the news when he is not really awake to life. What are you going to do listening to the news when you are not awake, when you are not really awakened to life? You don't know what life is. What are these artificial things? Listening to news and this temporary things, these are not important. He rails against what do human beings do? They wake up, listen to news. They rail against the post office, saying he has never read something truly important in a letter or even in a newspaper which contains only gossip. So reading letters, reading newspapers, all these things, listening to gossips, they are not the real things which you should do in life. Okay, if you really want to awaken to life, then you should be amidst nature. Men often confuse the appearance of things with reality. So what appears to you may not be the reality. Thoreau believes with true wisdom and unhurriedness, it is possible to get past pretty pleasures and perceive matters of true worth. So if you have true wisdom, you will know which things are important, which things to be given importance, which are the real things, and you should not be in a hurry. If you are in a hurry, then you will miss all the important things in life, miss all the beauties which the life gives to you. God is in the present moment. Live the present. Don't be in a hurry. Live the present moment. And in order to experience spiritual truth, one must spend one's day as deliberately as nature. So, enjoy every moment as it comes. Every moment is important, or even though there might be difficulties, have the courage to face the difficulties. These struggles, these ups and downs in life, they are the true experiences. They are the learning experiences. They tell you the correct course of your action, course of your life. They guide you on the correct course of your life. And I think with this, we come to the end of this essay. It's a small one. Just go through it and prepare yourself well. Thank you very much. We'll stop here. I'll stop sharing my screen.
Just a minute, ma'am. अरे फोन किसका आ रहा है? फोन बंद करो यार. फोन किसका है? क्या बोल रहा? Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am has covered both the essays, and particularly from the point of view of the exam that you will be facing in the coming days, which will be as per the MCQ pattern. She started with the 3 epigraphs of Emerson, and the main point there was that your effort, that is more important, importance of nature, that is what Emerson appeals to. And after that, ma'am came to the key points of the essay, self-reliance, and but that was not all. After that, she went para by para. She has included every para, and the way she has created the slides, I think that should be of a big help for the students who would be taking MCQ exams. Similarly, about Thoreau, who is considered to be the follower of Emerson, and the 3 important aspects of his work: individualism, self-reliance, self-dependency, and naturalism. That is what ma'am has covered everything in her presentation. So on behalf of the organizers, I thank ma'am for being here on this Republic Day, as ma'am is too busy and was unable to engage her session on the scheduled date. So on behalf of the organizing colleges, we thank you for being here and declare that the session is over.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, ma'am. Bye.